In 1978, Taxi exploded onto television screens, bringing laughter and vibrant characters to life amid the chaos of New York City. But behind the studio lights, the cast's real lives were filled with turmoil. Some fell into addiction, others lived in lonely fame, and a few vanished entirely from Hollywood. Get ready, because this then and now journey will uncover some of the most chaotic lives you've ever heard of. Pat Harrington Jr. as Father Tony. Father Tony, the kind-hearted priest in Taxi, 1978, was portrayed by Pat Harrington Jr., a man whose warm smile and soulful eyes reflected faith and compassion. At 49 years old, he played a figure of kindness amid the wild world of New York cab drivers. Few knew that behind that calm image was an artist who had quietly fought many battles in both his career and personal life. Born on August 13, 1929, in New York City, Harrington entered his post-Taxi era with a defining role. Dwayne Schneider in the sitcom One Day at a Time, 1975 to 1984. His portrayal of the talkative but lovable building superintendent earned him both an Emmy and a Golden Globe, the peak of his career. Yet fame also brought pressure and fatigue. When the show ended, he struggled to stay relevant, turning to voice acting and guest appearances to make a living. Though celebrated as a familiar face of American television, he gradually faded from the spotlight in later years. Harrington's personal life was equally turbulent. After a 30-year marriage to Marjorie Ann Gortner ended in 1985, he only found some peace when he married Sally Cleaver in 2001. But in 2012, he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, which slowly stole his memory and ability to perform. A serious fall in 2015 caused a brain hemorrhage, the final blow in a life of dedication. At that time, his net worth was about $1.3 million, mostly from One Day at a Time residuals. On January 6, 2016, Pat Harrington Jr. passed away in Los Angeles at the age of 86. His death, caused by complications from a brain hemorrhage after the fall, shocked fans. He was laid to rest in a simple, heartfelt ceremony, fitting for a man who never sought the spotlight but left behind a legacy of laughter and kindness on television. Christopher Lloyd as Reverend Jim Ignatowski. Reverend Jim Ignatowski, the eccentric yet endearing cabbie from Taxi, 1978, was played by Christopher Lloyd, an actor who turned madness into art. At 40 years old, Lloyd breathed life into a free-spirited soul who made audiences laugh and ache with empathy. Few realized that behind his improvisational genius was a man who had touched greatness many times, yet often fell into deep loneliness. Born on October 22, 1938, in Stamford, Connecticut, Lloyd broke through after Taxi with his iconic role as Dr. Emmett Doc Brown in Back to the Future, 1985 to 1990. The eccentric scientist's wild hair and signature shout, "Great Scott!" made him a Hollywood star and earned him a Saturn Award nomination. In 1991, he transformed again as Uncle Fester in The Addams Family, cementing his status as the master of eccentric roles. He also won an Emmy for Road to Avonlea, 1992, and an Independent Spirit Award for 20 Bucks, 1993. Yet behind the acclaim lay a life marked by solitude and heartbreak. Lloyd went through 5 failed marriages, each one leaving emotional and financial scars. The loss of his mother in 1984 and his nephew, actor Sam Lloyd, in 2020 sent him into depression. In 2008, his Montecito home was destroyed in the tea fire, erasing priceless personal mementos. Even so, Lloyd returned to the screen with relentless determination, appearing in Nobody, 2021, The Mandalorian, 2023, and Knuckles, 2024. Today, Christopher Lloyd is 87 years old and still active, attending film conventions and lending his voice to animated projects. With an estimated net worth of $40 million, he lives a modest life in Santa Barbara, occasionally smiling when fans call out Doc, Louise Lasser, as Phyllis. Phyllis, Alex's stubborn yet sensitive ex-wife in Taxi, 1978, was portrayed by Louise Lasser with a performance both subtle and full of contradictions. At 39 years old, she infused the character with a blend of bitterness and vulnerability, a kind of comedy that could make audiences laugh and then fall silent. She entered the series with the poise of a woman shaped by experience, carrying deep emotional scars yet refusing to be defeated. Born on April 11, 1939 in New York City, Lasser was already a familiar face on American television, especially after her lead role in Mary Hartman, which earned her an Emmy nomination and made her a cultural phenomenon. After Taxi, she continued to attract attention with her roles as Aunt Charisse in St. Elsewhere and Mona Jordan in Happiness, 1998. A film that won the National Board of Review Award for Best Ensemble Cast. In the 2010s, she appeared in Girls, 2013 to 2014, as Beatty, once again reminding audiences of her quirky, graceful, and unmistakably unique acting style. Yet behind those performances lay a life filled with turmoil. Her marriage to Woody Allen, 1966 to 1970, ended in bitterness, leaving her emotionally adrift and struggling with depression and addiction for a time. Family tragedy struck even deeper. Both her mother and father died by suicide, leaving indelible emotional scars that she battled for years. The 1976 incident involving a doll and cocaine led to her arrest and nearly destroyed her career. Still, she rose again through therapy and perseverance. In her later years, Lasser focused on teaching acting and directing stage plays in New York, finding peace once more through art. Now, Louise Lasser is 86 years old, living quietly in Manhattan and running the Louise Lasser Acting Studio. Her estimated net worth of $1.5 million may be modest, but it reflects a life devoted not to glamour, but to truth and courage in every role she played. Danny DeVito as Louis De Palma. Louis De Palma, the short-tempered and sharp-tongued dispatcher in Taxi, 1978, became one of Danny DeVito's most iconic roles. At 34 years old, he turned Louis into the show's beating heart, a character both tyrannical and strangely lovable. The role not only launched DeVito into stardom, but also defined his signature style, small in stature, yet commanding every frame he appeared in. Born on November 17, 1944, in Neptune Township, New Jersey, DeVito achieved immense success after Taxi, winning both an Emmy and a Golden Globe. He ascended to Hollywood legend status through films like Batman Returns, 1992, Matilda, 1996, and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, 2006 to present. Beyond acting, he became a skilled director and producer with Throw Mama from the Train, 1987, Matilda, 1996, and Erin Brockovich, 2000. The latter earning an Oscar nomination for Best Picture. DeVito's personal life, however, has been filled with ups and downs. His marriage to Rhea Perlman in 1982 was once seen as one of Hollywood's happiest unions, but the couple separated in 2012, reunited briefly in 2013, and parted ways again in 2017. Despite their separation, they remain close friends and co-parent their 3 children. DeVito also battles Fairbanks disease, a genetic disorder that stunted his growth to 4 feet 11 inches, 1.52 meters, and causes chronic joint pain. Additionally, his production company, Jersey Films, once teetered on the brink of bankruptcy due to failed projects, but he persevered, turning hardship into the humor that defines his artistry. Today, at 81 years old, Danny DeVito continues to perform on Broadway, appear in new films, and lend his voice to animated productions. With an estimated net worth of $80 million, he remains a testament to endurance and creativity. DeVito may be small in height, but his influence and his heart have never been anything less than monumental. Leonard Frey as Red Felson. Red Felson, the cold yet darkly humorous cab driver in Taxi, 1978, was brought to life by Leonard Frey with a blend of sharp wit and weary intelligence that was impossible to forget. At 40 years old, Frey didn't need to overact. His performance spoke through the quiet exhaustion and subtle grace of a man who had seen too much. It was a small but memorable role, reflecting the real Frey himself. Intelligent, sensitive, and deeply solitary. Born on September 4, 1938, in Brooklyn, New York, Frey was once celebrated as one of the sharpest stage talents of the 1970s. Before Taxi, he gained fame as Motel the Tailor in Fiddler on the Roof, 1971, which earned him an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. On Broadway, he received a Tony nomination for The National Health, 1975, solidifying his reputation as a powerhouse performer. After Taxi, he appeared in Where the Buffalo Roam, 1980, and Up the Academy, 1980, but his star gradually dimmed. Hollywood at the time simply didn't know what to do with a talent that defied easy categorization. Frey lived a quiet, private life. He never married and rarely spoke about his personal affairs. A perfectionist who shunned the spotlight, he became increasingly isolated. As AIDS began to spread through New York's artistic community in the early 1980s, Frey became one of its first victims. The disease, terrifying, stigmatized, and untreatable at the time, ravaged his body. Sadly, Leonard Frey passed away on August 24, 1988, in New York, just 11 days before his 50th birthday, due to AIDS-related complications. At the time of his death, his estate was valued at about $1 million, mostly from Fiddler on the Roof royalties, modest but symbolic of his enduring impact. Rhea Perlman as Zena. Zena, Louis De Palma's sweet yet strong-willed girlfriend in Taxi, 1978, marked Rhea Perlman's first major television breakthrough. At 30 years old, she brought warmth and resilience to the role, the only woman who could expose Louis' softer side. From there, Perlman stepped out from under the shadow of being DeVito's wife to establish herself as a dynamic performer in her own right. Born on March 31, 1948, in Brooklyn, New York, Perlman skyrocketed to fame after Taxi, with her role as the sharp-tongued waitress Carla Tortelli in Cheers, 1982 to 1993. The role earned her 4 Emmys, 6 Golden Globe nominations, and the title of one of America's most beloved TV actresses. In later years, she continued to shine in projects such as Matilda, 1996, Palms, 2019, and Barbie, 2023, where she was widely praised for her touching portrayal of Ruth Handler, the creator of the Barbie doll. Her marriage to Danny DeVito, which began in 1982, was once considered a Hollywood fairy tale, though it was not without its storms. The couple separated in 2012, reunited briefly in 2013, and parted again in 2017. Despite this, they have remained close friends and co-parents to their 3 children. Perlman has openly spoken about the challenges of living alongside her husband's massive fame. But instead of succumbing to insecurity, she turned it into creative energy. Through determination and humor, she weathered every storm without losing herself. Today, at 77 years old, Rhea Perlman remains active in film, television, and theater with her trademark vitality. She lives a simple life in California, focusing on family and her children's book projects. Her estimated net worth is around $60 million, primarily from Cheers royalties and joint investments with DeVito. Andy Kaufman as Latka Gravas. Latka Gravas, the soft-spoken, kind-hearted, and eccentric taxi mechanic, was the role that turned Andy Kaufman into a legend. When he joined Taxi in 1978, he was only 29 years old, and the character left them puzzled. Kaufman didn't act like anyone else. He became Latka, then sometimes vanished entirely to transform into Tony Clifton. a rude, abrasive alter ego so outrageous that he was once thrown off the set. For Andy, the line between art and reality simply didn't exist. Born on January 17, 1949, in New York, Kaufman was hailed as the pioneer of anti-comedy, a form of humor that didn't rely on laughter but on confusion and surprise. After Taxi, he earned 2 Golden Globe nominations for Best Supporting Actor, 1979 and 1981. But conventional success was never what he sought. Instead, he dove headfirst into performance art, staging wrestling matches with women, faking a feud with professional wrestler Jerry Lawler, and creating chaos on Letterman just to make audiences question what was real and what was staged. These antics got him temporarily banned from Saturday Night Live, but they also made him an icon of creative rebellion. Kaufman never married. He had one daughter, Maria, who was adopted when he was young. In his final years, he was devoted to his partner, Lynn Margulies, who stood by him during his illness. In November 1983, at the height of his fame, Kaufman was diagnosed with a rare form of lung cancer, despite never having smoked. He tried everything, from strict vegan diets to psychic surgery in the Philippines, a controversial, pseudo-scientific procedure he desperately believed might save him. But the disease spread to his brain. Even as his hair fell out from radiation, he continued to smile, appearing one last time at the premiere of My Breakfast with Blassie. Sadly, Andy Kaufman died on May 16, 1984, in Los Angeles, at just 35 years old. He was buried at Beth David Cemetery in New York. His estate was valued at about $3 million. Tony Danza as Tony Bonta. Tony Bonta, the good-hearted, clumsy boxer-turned-cab driver in Taxi, 1978, was played by Tony Danza with rare honesty and warmth. At 27 years old, he hardly seemed to act at all. He simply was Tony. Tough, yet tender, sincere, yet funny. A man defined by his ability to get back up after every defeat. The role not only launched Danza's acting career, but also earned him lifelong affection from audiences around the world. Born on April 21, 1951, in Brooklyn, New York, Danza came to Hollywood straight from the boxing ring. After Taxi, he exploded in popularity with Who's the Boss, 1984 to 1992, earning 1 Emmy nomination and 4 Golden Globe nominations for his portrayal of Tony Michelli, a warm-hearted single father with a quick wit. In the years that followed, he impressed audiences again in The Practice, 1998, and films like Crash, 2004, and Don John, 2013. Danza's personal life, however, has been marked by turbulence. His 2 marriages, to Rhonda Yeoman, 1970 to 1974, and Tracy Robinson, 1986 to 2013. Both ended in divorce, with the latter causing years of emotional struggle. In 2005, he survived a serious go-kart racing accident that nearly took his life, prompting him to step away from the spotlight for a time to focus on family and teaching English in a high school in Philadelphia. Today, Tony Danza is 74 years old and still performing, appearing regularly on television and in live shows. He lives in New York, where he continues to teach, sing jazz, and inspire younger generations. With an estimated net worth of $40 million, he remains a model of perseverance. Jeff Conaway as Bobby Wheeler. Bobby Wheeler, the charming, aspiring actor and part-time cab driver of Taxi, was portrayed by Jeff Conaway with a radiant smile and dreamy eyes when he was 31 years old. Beneath that easygoing charisma, however, lay a restless soul. Jeff Conaway was born on October 5, 1950, in Manhattan, New York. After Taxi, 1978, it seemed as though he had the world at his feet. He was already known for Grease, 1978, alongside John Travolta, the ultimate symbol of youthful rebellion, and Hollywood quickly embraced him as a rising star. But when the lights dimmed and the music stopped, Conaway began to crumble. Once an A-list actor, he slipped into a dark cycle of drug abuse and self-destruction, trapped between the glare of fame and the shadows it cast. His later work on Babylon 5, 1994 to 1999, was a faint echo of his once bright promise. 3 failed marriages, loneliness, and addiction turned him into what tabloids called a ghost of Hollywood. He sought refuge in Scientology, in rehab centers, and even on reality TV, appearing on Celebrity Rehab, where audiences witnessed a once-beloved actor trembling, lost, and broken. On May 27, 2011, Jeff Conaway died at age 60 from pneumonia and sepsis, the result of years of drug abuse. He left quietly with only a few $100,000 and a lifetime of regret. His gravestone bears a single, heartbreaking line: "He tried to fly." It was a farewell to a man who once soared and then fell, somewhere between dreams and despair. Marilu Henner as Elaine Nardo. Elaine Nardo, the elegant, intelligent, and resilient heart of Taxi, was brought to life by Marilu Henner as a portrait of grace amid chaos when she was 26 years old. In a world of oil-stained hands and rough-tongued men, Elaine stood as strength wrapped in vulnerability, a single mother fighting to keep her dignity in a life that rarely offered mercy. Born on April 6, 1952, in Chicago, Illinois, she became one of the most beloved women on American television after Taxi, but few realized that behind her radiant presence lay a lifelong battle, not with fame, but with memory itself. Henner lives with hyperthymesia, a rare condition that allows her to recall every day and emotion of her life in perfect detail. For most people, memories fade with time. For Marilu, they never leave. She remembers the color of the sky on her first day on set, every harsh word a director ever spoke, and the emptiness of her room after 2 divorces. "Sometimes," she once said, "memory is the most beautiful prison." Yet it was this pain that became her strength. After Taxi, Henner found new purpose in Evening Shade, 1990 to 1994, and L.A. Story, 1991, and she went on to write more than 9 books on health, memory, and wellness. She turned suffering into philosophy and memory into healing. Her motivational speeches have moved millions. Today, at 73 years old, Marilu Henner remains radiant on television and continues to advocate for mental and physical health. She lives happily with her husband, Michael Brown, and her 2 sons, with an estimated net worth of $12 million. For Marilu, life isn't just a collection of days gone by. It's living proof that even the most painful memories can guide us toward the light of a new dawn. Carol Kane as Simca. As Simca Gravas, the eccentric yet deeply loving wife of Latka in Taxi, was brought to life by Carol Kane with a strange and irresistible charm when she was only 28 years old. Her high-pitched voice, awkward posture, and innocent expressions made audiences laugh and ache with sympathy all at once. She turned Simca into the show's quiet soul, a tender, emotional immigrant who understood the loneliness of outsiders better than anyone else. Born on June 18, 1952, in Cleveland, Ohio, she had earned an Oscar nomination for Hester Street, 1975, and starred opposite Al Pacino in Dog Day Afternoon, 1975. After Taxi, her 2 Emmy Awards for portraying Simca cemented her reputation as a powerhouse actress, yet fame led her down an unconventional path. Rather than chasing stardom, Kane retreated into privacy, drawn to strange, offbeat roles. While others went to parties, she returned to the theater, shining on Broadway in Wicked and later captivating new audiences in Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, 2015 to 2020. Success came easily, but happiness did not. Kane never married. She had a brief romance with Woody Harrelson before choosing solitude in glamorous New York. "I'm not calm enough to be a mother," she once confessed, a sad but brutally honest admission. In middle age, loneliness became her companion, and acting her only source of vitality. In 2024, her performance in Between the Temples earned her the New York Film Critics Award, proving that true talent never fades. By 2025, at 73, Carol Kane continues to act, appearing in Star Trek, Strange New Worlds, and preparing for a new film with Darren Aronofsky. She lives quietly, rarely seen in public, with an estimated net worth of around $5 million, mostly from television and independent film. A life without noise, but rich in depth, much like Simca's soulful gaze, at once innocent and filled with unspoken melancholy. Randall Carver as John Burns. John Burns, the gentle, awkward, and naive cab driver of Taxi, was portrayed by Randall Carver with such sincerity that it almost felt out of place when he was 32 years old. His character was the embodiment of kindness in a city that devoured the innocent. A man who believed the world was fair even as honking cabs and cynicism surrounded him. With his kind face and fading smile, Carver made John the symbol of the good man the world forgot. Born on May 25, 1946, in Fort Worth, Texas, she hailed as a promising new face in television. But after the first season, disaster struck. The writers decided his character lacked distinction and wrote him out of the show. The blow all but ended his career momentum. He continued to take small roles in Detour to Terror, 1980, The 6 O'Clock Follies, and several other series, but never regained the recognition he once had. It wasn't until There Will Be Blood, 2007, that he returned to the big screen, though only briefly. Off-screen, Carver's life was as quiet as his performances. He went through a discreet divorce and spent years living alone before marrying screenwriter Shelley Herman in 2012. "I thought I had disappeared," he once admitted in a rare interview. "But then I realized that sometimes peace is the greatest reward." His story carried no scandals, but his early dismissal from Taxi remained the career scar that haunted him for life. Today, Randall Carver is 79 years old. He rarely appears in public, dedicating his time to teaching acting at small theater workshops in California and supporting charity projects. He lives simply, with an estimated net worth of about $1 million, enough for a peaceful life with his wife, Marsha Warfield, as Rafe. Rafe, the sharp, fearless, and quick-witted female cab driver in Taxi, was brought to life by Marsha Warfield with intelligence, humor, and a signature coolness when she was 28 years old. Her character was a bold declaration that women could hold the wheel, speak their minds, and laugh just as loudly in a man's world. Yet behind those confident eyes was a woman who spent her entire life fighting for the right to be herself. Born on March 5, 1954, in Chicago, Illinois, she had already made a name for herself by winning the San Francisco Comedy Competition in 1979, triumphing over Dana Carvey. Her true breakthrough, however, came with Night Court, 1986 to 1992, where her portrayal of the tough, no-nonsense bailiff Roz Russell made her a household name. But behind the laughter, Warfield carried private pain, the fear of being judged, the promise she made to her mother never to reveal her sexuality while she was alive, and the loneliness that shadowed her for years. After her mother's passing, Marsha found the courage to embrace her truth. In 2017, at age 63, she publicly came out as gay, declaring on stage, "No one should ever be ashamed of being who they are." The line moved Hollywood to tears. Since then, she has turned comedy into a platform for authenticity and self-respect. Even in her 70s, Marsha remains vibrant, returning to the Night Court reboot, 2023, and appearing in Fox's 911. Today, at 71, Marsha Warfield continues to stand strong under the spotlight. She has never married and chooses to live independently, peacefully, and proudly, a rare choice in the entertainment world. With an estimated net worth of $3 million, she keeps touring, performing stand-up, and laughing with her audiences. John Beck as Joe. Joe, the calm, rugged, and world-weary cab driver in Taxi, was portrayed by John Beck with a deep voice and a steady gaze that spoke volumes when he was 39 years old. His character was a man of few words, but his eyes revealed a lifetime of struggle, mirroring Beck himself, an actor who lived through Hollywood's golden age without ever losing his decency. Born on January 28, 1943, in Chicago, Illinois, he was already a familiar face on American television. Soon after, he became an icon for his role as Mark Grayson on Dallas, 1983 to 1986. The suave businessman whose forbidden romance with Pamela Ewing captivated an entire nation. Though he never won major awards, Beck was remembered as the man between two worlds, possessing both old-school restraint and undeniable screen presence. Unlike many of his peers who succumbed to fame's temptations, Beck chose a modest life. He married Tina Carter, real name Valerie Shellabeer, in 1971, raised 4 children, and stayed clear of scandal. As Hollywood evolved into a new era, he quietly stepped away from acting, shifting to voice work, most notably voicing the Punisher in Spider-Man, the animated series, a strong yet haunted figure that reflected much of himself. Today, at 82, John Beck lives peacefully with his family in California. He rarely appears in public, giving interviews only when asked about Dallas, the show that defined his career. With an estimated net worth of about $150,000 from royalties and residuals, he remains respected as a keeper of the soul of television's golden years. The stars of Taxi have changed so much that you might barely recognize them today. But have the triumphs, tragedies, and transformations truly defined who they are, or were they all just part of Hollywood's grand performance? Tell us which story surprised you most, and don't forget to subscribe for more untold Hollywood tales.